Welcome to Couch Coaches. I'm Coach Gully,
And I'm the bully.
and today's episode we have our fantasy football bonanza
Woo!
breakouts and busts.
Whoa. So what does that actually mean?
Good question. no, so basically what we decided to do is we each decided to take two players from each position, essentially quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. We're going to tell you who's going to be our breakout or to do above what they normally would do for, say, at their average, their career. And then the players that we think are going to bust or do below their average for their career. Yeah. And so hopefully you'll find this to be entertaining and maybe you'll find some good knowledge and maybe win a fantasy football league or at least a game.
Was I supposed to come up with people too?
Uh, Hopefully.
Okay.
Although I'm pretty sure I could fill up the whole segment. Just let's focus in on my face here.
All right. Zoom in. We have that zoom in button, right? So breakout or busts really tends to be above or below maybe your average draft position or position of in the position, right? So if you're ranked let's just say 10th quarterback on in an overall place, you're assuming that they might be above 10 or below 10.
Right.
Yep. And if
and
you
I would
think they're
say
going to be kind of around there, if you're not, I mean, hopefully we don't have this where they're going to be like a 9, right?
Right, exactly. That's what I was just going to reiterate. It's not just somebody who's going to do a spot ahead of what they're projected to be. To maybe be 2, 3, 4, 5 spots ahead, maybe even higher than that, depending on the position. Right? You got, wide receivers. There's a big chunk, that are kind of in different tiers. Maybe they've jumped from one tier to another type of thing. Right?
Let's jump into it.
Let's go.
Do you want to go breakouts? Do you want to go position? Do you want to go busts? How do you want to?
Let's go ahead and we'll start out with we'll do our breakouts at a position, and then we'll do that same position as the bust.
Okay, so each position in a row. You lead things off, sir.
Okay.
What does the goalie man have behind door number 1?
Number 1. So I actually have Trevor Lawrence as probably my top breakout quarterback.
Oh.
So I really think that he can make a big jump this year. He's got two new wide receivers. One of them's a really good rookie. Of course, they have Evan Ingram. They have one of the best running backs in the league with Travis Etienne. I just think that he's ready to take that next step and really live up to that contract that he signed.
It is a lot of pressure with that major money that he's got coming in.
Yeah, and let's see if I take a look at his draft position here. From Fantasy Pros, they got him as the 16th overall average draft pick.
Okay.
So the average, all right, I'm the 16th overall quarterback off the board. So I personally think he has a chance to crack the top 10.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be about a 6 position jump over what he's currently drafted.
And definitely if he uses his legs, that he's more than capable of. So we've seen a little bit of it, but we haven't seen him really put up the running like he did at Clemson.
Correct.
It'd be great to see him. Now, he doesn't have to be a Josh Allen at it, but it'd be great to see him throw up some yards and throw up some rushing touchdowns in there. Now, I know Etienne has carried a lot of that bulk, which is totally okay by NFL standards, but fantasy-wise, these T-Law owners, they want to see him get his feet moving a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
I had him
Yeah,
last year, and that did not pan out. That's what I wanted him to be. So,
we love the Russian touchdowns from our QBs. It's a little icing on the cake, if you will.
sure,
It's,
sure.
yeah.
I have a guy that
So
also likes to rush a little bit. However, this one's going to be maybe some controversial.
what? No way.
Starting off, what? Anthony Richardson.
Yes.
Um, and we just said don't pick a guy that's only going to go up a spot or two, but he is ranked. I'm surprised that actually he's ranked 6th on the quarterback list. And I also went by Fantasy Pros ranking as well. So there might be other lists that might have him at 11. However, I think he can easily crack the top 5 in only 4 games last year before he got injured. He had 4 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing. He had 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception. I mean, he was putting up numbers.
He was. So I was really high on him last year.
Mhm.
So, and I did have him in a couple leagues. And yeah, it stung for him to get knocked out the way he did. First with concussion, then all of a sudden he got the shoulder injury. Was that what if I'm remembering right?
I think so.
And
yeah,
he needed surgery.
Right.
Yeah. So now, yeah, he is from Fantasy Pros. He's averaged 6th quarterback off the board. So you're saying that he could probably crack the top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
If he stays healthy the whole year, I think he has the ability to be in the top 2.
Sure.
I really do.
And not only that,
he's a freak athlete.
Yeah, and not only that, but in other boards that I have seen him at, 6 was the highest that I've seen him. So if you're looking at a different ranking board, he may be 12. You know, because there's a lot of players that you could rank above him overall as a quarterback. Right. So I was surprised to see him there, and I still went with this pick regardless.
Yep. Yeah, I like that pick. That's a good one. As far as a breakout, it might be stretching it, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
if he finishes in the top 2, for sure he is right. Top 2 or 3, for sure. I would say that's a breakout season.
Sure. Yep.
All right. So my second breakout. Now there's going to be a lot of people that think I'm cracked, right? Or maybe they think I'm on crack. I don't know. Yeah. So I actually think that Sam Darnold has a chance to be a breakout quarterback.
Sure.
I don't know that if he could get into, say, the top 10, maybe top 12, but I mean, he's down there. I mean, we all know that
he's listed around 30, I thought.
Yeah, he's 31st quarterback coming off the board. Most of the time, probably not even getting drafted. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I would say if you're in a big league, maybe take him as a stash guy. The reason why I say it is, I mean, he never got really a great chance with a good team. So, played for years with the Jets.
Yeah.
You know, they were never good. They really didn't have the talent all there. Then he went to Carolina, right?
Yep.
Never got a proper
opportunity.
Yes. Along with that, they not a very good team either.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So then he goes to San Fran. Now, obviously, they got the talent, but he's backup, so he never got that. Now he comes here, and everybody expected him to for sure start the season and see how it would go, and then JJ McCarthy maybe come in.
Right.
But now that JJ McCarthy's out, it's his position. It's his to do with what he can. And I mean, we have some of the best personnel on offense that any quarterback could flourish with, right? We have one of the best wide receivers in the game with JJ. Yep. We got Addison. We got Hawkinson coming back probably mid-season. We have Aaron Jones, who can catch well out of the backfield. We got a fairly decent offensive line.
Right.
I think overall, he has the weapons to succeed and show his skills. And but you know, it's all up to him, right? He's got to return to that swagger and that form that he had coming into the NFL.
Yeah, and not only that, but he's coming from the Shanahan system, which comes under the McVay tree, which O'Connell came from the same tree. So there might be a lot of similarities as far as how to run an offense. I was, if I had to make a bold pick before this started, one person that you might take, this might have been it.
Okay.
So for me, not a surprise, but for others, there definitely could be some controversial there. But I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's definitely some opportunity.
Yep. Thank you.
Mine might also be controversial in a different way. I picked Will Levis from Tennessee.
Okay.
Now, I think he played 8 or 9 games last year.
Yep.
His first game, I believe he threw for 4 touchdowns. But then he might have only thrown for 4 touchdowns after that. But now he's got Calvin Ridley. He's got D-Hop.
Right.
He's got Tony Pollard. And he's ranked 25th best quarterback. You're telling me the Mayo Man can't be better than 25 or at least crack the top 15? There's definitely opportunities there.
Right.
And the guy's got a cannon. Reminds me a little bit of a young Josh Allen. So he looks more comfortable. And I think he's got some leadership as the receivers to make him do so.
Right. And but like you said, he's got a cannon. He is also a gritty player. I mean, when he needs to get yardage, he can run the ball. I mean, he's got some fairly decent speed. I think, yeah, I like that pick. I think that's pretty solid.
It's not one that I would say use as your number one quarterback, but don't be surprised if this guy starts turning heads and you need to pick up somebody on the waiver wire or, fill up as your backup. He could definitely use as both needs. So
sure.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Bust time.
Yeah. Bust time.
Bust time.
Okay. Now here's where I'm going to lose the people. Okay. So I already know this right now. So now when we were talking about bust, right? We're talking about somebody who's not going to live up to their
expectations.
Exactly. And so with that being said, I went with Josh Allen.
Whoa! I guess we're turning this off, aren't we?
So I even have it written here. I know. It's Josh freaking Allen. But him and the Buffalo Bills have one of the toughest schedules in the league this year. Okay. Well, they traded away Stephon Diggs, lost Gabe Davis, drafted Keon Coleman in the second, who's a huge target, 6'4", 215. I mean, he's
massive.
Yeah. But he's a rookie, right? And he technically is not even first round talent. And then they signed Curtis Samuel, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Yep.
Both are hurt. Scantling is out for multiple weeks. Not too much of a surprise. It's kind of his career in a nutshell, kind of being hurt and not living up. And then Curtis Samuel, who's a pretty solid wide receiver, but he's listed as being out week to week. The only reason why I think he's still going to be a good quarterback, right? He's going to be Superman. He's still going to put the team on his back. But is he going to be that 1 or 2 quarterback this year?
So you're saying he's going to fall out top 5, maybe in the 7th there position?
Yeah, I could see him, 5th to maybe 8th. Somewhere in there, depending on how things go. I mean,
so if you're drafting him in the 1st or 2nd round, don't be surprised if you're getting 5th round value out of him.
Right,
so to speak.
So, maybe that's a little bit far down, but if
something of that nature, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, because he's averaging right now the first quarterback off the board.
Okay.
Right. So if he doesn't live up to that top 2 or 3, it's a disappointment for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because you're going to have to be that guy that drafts that first quarterback. Right. So usually probably late first, early second round is usually when somebody pulls the trigger on the
Yep.
first quarterback to go.
Yep.
So
And then it's a train of, you start that. Every quarterback goes after that for 4 picks in a row. So
all
everyone
right,
panics. Everyone panics.
yeah,
I gotta get this guy.
yeah, exactly.
This one, I don't know if it's a surprise or not, based on how you feel, on how how I feel about this guy. Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts is ranked as the 3rd best fantasy quarterback right now. I had no idea why. You lose Jason Kelsey, so the tush push may not be anything more, because he was definitely the body behind that made that work. You sign Saquon Barkley, who's now going to get goal line carries. You sign him for a good contract. You're going to utilize him to be everything you can. So your 15 rushing touchdowns that this guy had are going to be maybe down to 5, maybe 6, which is okay, still decent, but not 3rd best overall. And if you look at his passing, he passed for 23 touchdowns and 15 picks. That ain't good. That ain't not good passing. Jalen Hurts is never a great passer. Okay, so
he's a decent passer.
Yeah, he might have led the league in interceptions. I don't know.
Here, I'm gonna contradict you on this. So this one, I think. So now Kelsey was probably a Hall of Fame center, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But and takes nothing away from Jason Kelsey in the tush push. But if he can, whoever is going to fill his spot, if they can get the leverage, right, they can still do the tush push with reasonable success. Mainly because of Jalen Hurts. Also, he's I don't know if you ever saw the video of him coming out of college and doing squats.
Yeah.
Yes. He is a specimen when it comes to just
he's got strength.
Yeah. And so, but you're right. I mean, Saquon Barkley could steal some touchdowns. But as far as the offense, I think the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles really started to decline passing wise last year was their offensive coordinator got stale. They were trying everything to try to freshen things up.
Sure.
Well, now they brought in Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, he's a good offensive coordinator. He's good at scheming. I really think that what he may lose in rushing touchdowns, he could make up in passing touchdowns.
Well, we'll have to see it. I mean, he might have some passing yards. He's got a lot of good targets.
Yep.
So he's got the wind behind his back on that.
Yep.
I don't see him being top 3. I don't see him being top 5. And if I was to list out my top 10 quarterbacks in general, he's not in my list on that either. So there you have it. There's my bust number 1 because
you're
it
wrong.
Hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, no, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks, so that's the only reason why I
ooh, that does hurt. That stings.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Bust 2, quarterback.
Okay, bust number 2. If you look at him from a playoff standpoint, quarterback, you'll get where I'm kind of coming from. But this is I went with Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, he had a great season last year. I want to say fantasy point total, he was like 4th overall
Something
for
like that.
quarterbacks,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, the offense around him it's not spectacular other than CD Lamb.
Right.
Right now, CD Lamb is holding out for a better contract. I know that he would also like to get a better contract as well.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like he's not going to get it this year, which is going to motivate him. But I don't see how with the talent that they have on offense, that he's going to be able to replicate what he did last year. I think he's going to kind of come back to the mean a little bit more. So I see him here. He's drafted as roughly the 8th quarterback going off the board in average draft pick. But I don't see him. I don't see him doing any better than that, and I don't see him come close to what he repeated last year, or what he did last year. Excuse me.
Yeah. I have Kyler Murray. I don't know if this is a surprise pick or not, but I think the biggest surprise
I
is
almost put him on there as well.
But he's number 9. I didn't even think that was possible. I already had him at 20. And he might be, 9 inches tall or something, but the only target he's got is Marvin Harrison. And I just don't. The guy just wants to play video games. I don't see it. I know he's got some capabilities, but I just don't see it. I don't know if there's much really to get into with him. He's not going to be the 9th best quarterback, and he might be on the bottom half. So
the only way
I wouldn't draft him as my QB1.
Okay, yeah, good point. Here's the only way that I could see him really being not say on the bust side of things, right, would be if he can regain the rushing touchdowns that he had early on in his career, the first couple of years, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they want him to do that, right? I mean, obviously the NFL isn't geared towards fantasy football. Right. The NFL is geared towards winning, right? So I think having a healthy Kyler Murray benefits them better than having a guy who's, scoring a lot of points for fantasy. So,
right. Yeah. And I think they need to get their act in order. We need to see points scored.
Absolutely.
They need to know who's on my team. All right. I continue to send them letters. Like Shawshank Redemption. I write them twice a week.
Yeah. I've been sending everything to Matt Burke because he's got an in with the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
He used to be in the upper.
Yeah.
Used to be in the upper office.
Sending him to Gus Farrat. Well, that guy had a concussion, so. Let's go to running backs.
Okay. All right. So I'll start us off. So, I think my breakout running back for the season that can do better than where he's projected to go is one of those average Dallas Cowboy players that I was just talking about. Rico Dowdle, the running back.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Sure.
So his competition is old man Zeke, who's, even though Zeke's only 29,
it's a declining age.
But he's been overused. For years. I'd have to take a look at the stats, but I'm pretty sure he had several years of over like 400 carries a year, or upper 300s anyways, and just taking a beating, right? And he basically was slowed down. That's why he ended up playing for New England last year. I think that Rico Dowdle has a chance to take that job over and make it his.
Sure. So, yeah, I can see that happening. I can also see Zeke being very underrated too, but it really depends on who gets utilized, because you can see some spurts of Dowdle. So yeah, it's a good pick. This one I have to do some explaining on, but Devon Achane, he's ranked 10.
Okay.
Ranked kind of high, but he's so explosive that with the team chemistry that they have and the split backfield with Mostert, I'm surprised to see him up to 10. He played in 11 games, he had 11 touchdowns and basically 1,000 total yards. You put him in a full season, he's going to blow away numbers. And I think he's going to blow away the top 10, if not even be closer to like a top 3 or 4 running back by the end of the season. Now, it's a risk It is definitely a risk. You might get Mostert might have another 20 touchdown season or something. However, if the risk pays off, it's worth the reward. So I'm going that as a breakout with an asterisk.
Yeah, I mean it. The one thing that I really found out doing this exercise is it's a little tough to, you know, if you're in fantasy football, right? You always have either podcasts that you listen to, or you have, you know, some website that you go to get information from to help you make your decisions. And it's a little. I found it difficult at times to come up with a really solid take, which is part of the reason
Sure.
why, you know, like my Josh Allen take. I think people will think I'm crazy, but I mean, if you're drafting him as the first quarterback off the board, but he's no better than the fifth quarterback off the board, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting your value.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
anyways, so yeah, so I can see where you're coming from. The one thing I just kind of wonder about that is they also drafted Jalen Wright in the fourth round, and I just kind of wonder how that three-headed monster is going to work there. And
I think we're starting to see I think Mostert had a great season, but I think we're going to start seeing the passing of the torch where he might be second fiddle, kind of like a Chester Taylor to Adrian Peterson, kind of get fizzled out, maybe play with another team after this upcoming season, and then it's going to be his to take for a while. So,
you know, I guess I really find it hard to believe that Mostert's probably going to even play after this year. What is he? I mean,
that's
32, 33?
Hey, if you put up that type of numbers again, someone pays you, you might want to take that risk. You know, people are NFL players are greedy.
Well, they have to be. I mean, so are their owners. But I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Running back 2 breakout.
All right. So this has nothing to do that I have the hat on my head, but it's Ty Chandler.
Oh, okay.
So, and the reason why I say that is, not only is he fast, but Aaron Jones, he's aging, has had, you know, a lot of trouble staying healthy. I think that Chandler has many of the skills needed that he could be a number one running back. And if I don't know, I think if Aaron Jones falters at all, I don't think that they're going to have any problem going to him, and I really think that he'll succeed.
Yeah,
but
there was definitely a lot of glimpses of him last year where he can prove to be the number one guy. Unfortunately, during his first rookie season, he blew up. I think it was his knee, maybe.
Yep.
And he missed that opportunity. But the kid's a monster, and he's coming back pretty strong. So yeah, that's a good pick. I like that. It's very exciting to see what he can do. I'm high on him as well.
Yep, right
on. This one, I'm gonna go with Zamir White.
Okay.
Now he's ranked 22nd in his position, and that may be close to where he could be. But now he's a starting running back, and again, talk about glimpses. With Josh Jacobs' poor season with the Raiders, and everyone had a poor season with the Raiders. In 4 games, he put up 451 yards. Okay, so he averaged 110, 11 yards a game. That's okay. That's solid. We've seen what he can do. Now with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, O'Connell as their backup. When Minshew was with Indianapolis last year, we saw greatness from Zach Moss. We saw some very good things of Jonathan Taylor, which was probably expected. But they ran the ball a lot. And later on, I'll tell you why I really believe in this. But I think they're going to utilize their run game a lot more. And to be 22nd, I think he'll probably crack the top 15. Easily be a number 2 running back. Questionable RB1, depending on how you skillfully draft your team. If you want to go 3 wide receivers first and then use Zamir White as your RB1, that could work. I think he's going to be a lot better than 22. So,
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of talk this preseason, um, especially after, excuse me, after Jones has left. Um, yeah, I really can see that because I think also Antonio Pierce, the head coach, I think he wants to emphasize the run.
Yeah.
So I think he's got that going for him as well.
It seems to be a safe
So
hold on young coaches,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
Ever.
it's bus time.
Okay, drum roll.
Whoa,
Elvin Kamara.
whoa. Mr. Nose
So
Ring.
so yes, yes. Uh, so he's 29 years old. In his career, he's never played a full season, right? Either injuries
How about that?
or a suspension, right? Last year he was suspended. He's been productive. His 3 year average on games started is 11.7 games. Um, he, he's averaged 3.7 touchdowns a season and 2.7 receiving touchdowns. So we could round that up to 6 touchdowns. But the ADP has him as 17th overall, and basically being taken in the back end of the third to the beginning of the fourth round, and I just I just have a feeling that he's going to start to kind of fall off that cliff and not give you the kind of production Alvin Kamara has given you
Okay.
traditionally over his sort of over the
Okay.
course of his career.
I can see that happening. Okay. I don't mind it.
Okay.
I this one really hurt me to say. Joe
Uh-oh.
Mixon.
Oh.
I like Joe Mixon. I like the move to Houston
Mhm.
for their team.
Sure.
However, he's never been utilized fully at his capacity. Houston does not utilize running backs in their past, unless you're dating all the way back to 10 years ago of Arian Foster, who surprised the hell out of people. But
Oh,
Damian Pierce was a
absolutely.
great guy, and he fell off the face of the earth. They bring in Singletary, and they just don't utilize him. Now you have three great receivers, Dell Collins and Diggs. You have Dalton Schultz. Is
Yep.
Mixon going to get a lot of touches in a passing league with CJ Stroud? I just don't see him getting a lot of carries, and he's ranked
Right.
15th. I think he's going to fall off. Maybe might even break 1,000. I doubt it. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I want the best for him. I just don't see it. And that really painfully hurts me to say. I'm not saying don't draft him,
Right.
but RB1, stay away.
Yep. Yeah, I feel you there. That's a solid take. You know, only so many players, you know, that can touch the ball,
Yeah,
right? I
right.
mean, when you got that receiving core that Houston has, it's going to make it difficult to get the same kind of shares that he used to get in Cincinnati, even,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
even though he can catch pretty well out of the backfield. But
He can. Yeah.
yeah,
We just don't
I
see it.
think,
And I just don't know if we're going to see it this year.
yeah, I would agree. So my bust is another 29-year-old running back. You catch the theme there. Um,
Take notes,
uh,
chat.
James Conner.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
So
looking at him.
he's actually, you know, the last 3 years he's averaging 10.7 games played. Although he's been very effective at getting the goal line, I want to say that he's averaging like 9 touchdowns a season still,
Right.
even though playing 10 games. Um, but there is a reason they. I mean, I think they still have problems with their O line, and they also drafted Trey Benson in the third round for a reason, right? You don't spend that kind of draft capital on a running back unless you're planning to get him significant touches,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Yeah.
I think it could be the sign of changing of the guard there, and there in Arizona.
Yeah, I
And
don't
that
disagree with
pains
that
me
at
to
all.
say that I've been a huge fan of James Conner
Yeah,
after the battle he's had with cancer when he was in college.
and he's been so under not only underrated, but I shouldn't say underwhelming, but just quietly productive over so many
Right.
years of his career. But like you said, if he could put together a full season, this wouldn't be talked about. But since he can't, and
Agreed.
now he's kind of on the aging thing, it's gonna hurt his thing. I went with a guy from the team he came from, Pittsburgh, Najee Harris.
Oh,
And this is kind of a weird take. He is only ranked the 24th running back, so he's the back end of an RB2.
mm-hmm.
And he's the only player to have 1,000 yards rushing in each of the last 3 seasons. How about that? They're kind of weird, right?
Sure.
But he's barely scraped by 1,000 yards in 2 of those. He's had his best season was only 8 touchdowns, and that's when Pittsburgh has been feeding him the rock. Okay,
Yep.
and now
Yep.
we saw glimpses. The word of the day. We saw glimpses of Jalen Warren last year, and don't be surprised when he takes over the reins for Najee Harris this season. So Najee will fall out of being the top running back of Pittsburgh, and they have shitty quarterback play. They have one wide receiver to pass to. They have
Yep.
an awful tight end. I just don't see anything productive out of Pittsburgh at all this season. Stay away.
Yeah. So for the most part, I agree with a lot of your takes. Jalen Warren did, hurt his hammy, but he'll be back, right?
Yep.
So, and yes, you're right. I mean, Jalen Warren was getting taking the rock from him, and I actually thought he should have been the starting running back last year because he's just never lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
Najee Harris, I mean, man, when he came out, everybody is drafting him, you know, ridiculously high.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I think he's got one other thing kind of going for him is his offensive coordinator is the former head coach of Atlanta, who really likes to run the ball. Um, so, but yes, I would agree with you. I think that's yeah. I really don't see him panning out as much as
Right.
other people think because I think his name has actually been tied. Uh, I'm drawing a blank on the coach, but um, as becoming more productive this year. But I agree with you. I don't really see it. I think
Yeah.
Jalen Warren could probably take his job.
2 down, 2 to go. Wide
Yep.
receivers and tight ends, breakouts and busts.
All right. So I think my breakout for the for wide receiver uh, is Jackson Smith Najigba.
Yep. Seattle.
Yes. So first round draft pick for Seattle last year
Mhm.
was underutilized, but he still had 63 catches for 628 yards and 4 touchdowns last season. You have Tyler Lockett, who's been a very underrated and productive receiver, who's turning 32 years old in September. And now that they have a new head coach in there, I think the philosophy is going to change. I think with his talent, he's going to end up overtaking Tyler Lockett and becoming that number one. Well, you have I'm
DK.
drawing, yeah, DK Metcalf. Yeah, you have him on the other side. So but I still think he has that level of talent and opportunity for balls to come his way to solidify himself and really be a breakout this year.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a name that I was looking at. Um so I do agree with you that he's got opportunity for breakout for sure. This one is going to be I think a lot of mine are probably going to be controversial from here on out. So let's just go with it. Malik Neighbors with the Giants.
Okay.
Danny Dimes is dreadful. How is he even going to catch a pass? Malik Neighbors is so fast. He was the fourth fastest wide receiver in the draft. He's gotten so many compliments from a guy like Tyreek Hill that this guy kind of gives you, a mirror image of throw the ball in the air. Speed kills as a rookie. We saw it with Randy Moss. We saw it with other receivers. Just throw the ball far. This guy's going to go get it.
Yep.
And you have no one else on that team. So you better feed this guy as many passing opportunities as you can. I mean, he led the LSU all time in receiving yards. He's got to be productive somehow. They took him 5th overall. You're going to be using him. Could be risky, but I like the fact that he could get 120 targets. He could really be up there. So Malik Neighbors, take a chance on it.
Yeah. Where is his draft position?
I know he was 24th as a wide receiver. So draft position.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, yeah. So that's like kind of a bottom end number 2. Yeah, he could be number 1 flex.
Right.
So yeah, no, I like that. I really think you're right. You don't draft a wide receiver 5th overall to not use them.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't. So
and if you need anything to make that team successful, you have to pass to him. Or your quarterback, to make your quarterback do something, you have to pass to him. You got to do something.
Yep. All right. So now we're on to my second wide receiver breakout. It's also a rookie as well. Marvin Harrison. No, I'm just kidding. It is Lad McConkey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Mr. 34th overall highest contract or something. Weird.
Yes, he had. Yeah, exactly. He had. Yes, that stat. We talked about that on a previous podcast.
That's the guy. Yeah.
Yes. So, he's basically a lock to get the slot position there in the Chargers with the departure of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Got Herbert thrown to him. I really think this kid has a chance to almost. I'm not going to call him the next, Puka Nacua, but you never know. I mean, he's coming into like the perfect scenario, I think, for him. I think he's going to get a lot of targets, and it's just a matter of what he does with them.
Right. Yep.
So.
Yep. Don't mind it at all.
So.
I'm going to give this guy his flowers. Zay Flowers.
Nice.
He's taken over the number 1 position now that
Brown.
Odell left.
Yeah.
850 yards, had 5 scores last year. But they only have Bateman and Nelson Aguilar, and those are not really that great receivers. You have Mark Andrews, but you also have Derrick Henry, who is probably going to be taking away some goal line catches. So I think Zay Flowers is going to be your downfield guy, kind of like a Jordan Addison, but I think you're going to see a lot of improvement from Flowers. He can easily be way better than the 27th ranked wide receiver this year, and being the number 1 on this team, I think they're going to use him a lot.
Yeah, that's not to mention. I mean, historically, Derrick Henry is not a pass catching back. Right. Mark Andrews is, hurt, and it's kind of the story of his career.
Right.
So, I mean, it only goes to stand that, and Zay Flowers showed a lot of pop in his game. I mean, last year. So I think, I think he really could.
He can stretch the field and get some downfield passes. So
I'm actually going to write that one down.
Use that for your own team. Thanks. All right. Good thing we're not playing any leagues together.
Maybe.
And it's time for the busts.
All right. Now, speaking of the Chargers, okay, I think the bust this year is Keenan Allen departing the Chargers and going to Chicago. Yes, they have the number one drafted quarterback as their starter. However, uh, Keenan Allen does have a history of injuries. Um, he is playing with a rookie quarterback, so there could be some growing pains there. And he's 32 years old now. He was very productive last year, but he also had a proven, you know, quarterback throwing to him for a good chunk of that season before he got hurt. So yeah, I'm going out on a limb, and I think it's going to be Keenan Allen where wide receivers go to die.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. I
Chicago.
can see that happening. I don't mind the pick, but intrigued to see if that pans out. I went with a 31-year-old receiver, Mr. Consistent, Mike Evans. What? Oh, what? Holy crap. No, he's not going to get 1,000 yards this season. We're going to see a shit show out of Baker Mayfield because the dude's just not as consistent as I want him to be. He's going to go back into commercials. Mike Evans barely scrapes by 1,000 yards every single freaking year. It's annoying that people tout him as a top receiver. Sure, he led the league in touchdowns last year with 13, but it ain't happening this year, people. It's just not going to work out. His streak ends this season.
Interesting. Um, you know, I can't go against you. I mean, as much as I would like to, because I'm kind of a fan of Mike Evans. I've never had him on one of my teams, surprisingly, his whole career. But and he did shock me what he did last year.
Yeah,
because he is old and he takes a beating.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, if you ever watch any of his games, yeah, I mean he lays it all out on the line and takes some brutal hits.
Oh, he's a great player.
Yeah.
I just don't see him paying. I don't even know if I see him playing a full season next year, let alone. I just don't see Tampa Bay repeating what they did at all. So,
I like the take. I like it. All right, moving on. So my second bust wide receiver is Michael Pittman Jr.
Whoa!
So last year, Anthony Richardson gets hurt.
Is Michael Pittman 29 years old too?
No, I don't believe he is. He's only in his.
We thought there was a theme
year.
the whole way through. Okay.
Nope. Yeah, I might have alluded to that a little bit, but only with running backs. But he is. It was amazing last year how he was so high in overall fantasy points, even though he had 4 touchdowns, I believe, on the season. I think he could maybe get the 4 touchdowns, but I don't think he's going to get the kind of the targets and yardage that he got last year. And the reason why I think that is I think with having a running quarterback, and then also having Jonathan Taylor, you're going to have a few more touches that are essentially not going his way, right? So I think it's going to be a lack of production, and I think he's going to be pretty disappointing for most fantasy owners.
Sure. I think the most surprising part about Michael Pittman is the fact that he kept his head on last year after I believe the back of his neck touched the back of his back when he bent over. Dude folded like a lawn chair after a hit. I think that's the most surprising part. Holy cow. I haven't seen yoga positions feel like that. So, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
My wide receiver theme is 31 years of age goalie. I'm not talking about myself. Um, this guy had 8 touchdowns last year, had 1,100 yards. He was very frustrated. It's possible he could have a trade happen this year. Do not see him being in a top 10 position. Devontae Adams. Do not draft him in your first couple of rounds. Do you really trust Gardner Minshew, who we just talked about, that ran the ball a lot with Indy? That Zamir White's going to have a breakout season, and still Devontae Adams is going to get his numbers? He's going to be frustrated again. They're going to bring in Mr. Mustache himself, and that's Aiden O'Connell, and then against the other mustache himself, Gardner Minshew. It's going to be a porno difference between the two in the quarterback room.
Yeah. Well, they are in Las Vegas. I mean.
He is just not going to be happy, and either he's going to have a shitty season or he's going to get traded and still have a shitty season. So I don't see the production level, and it's going to drop off at his age.
I think that's a great take. I really do. It almost kind of goes back to what we were talking about in our contract podcast episode, where he was one of the guys who decided to leave Green Bay with having a Hall of Fame quarterback and going for the money. And what ended up happening? You started to see him kind of immediately start that downward spiral.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally I agree with that pick.
Cool, man. All right. And we go on to my favorite bedroom position. It's called the tight end. Wait a minute.
Wow.
Speaking of breakouts and busts, here we go.
All right. So my breakout tight end is we're going to go back to our discussion about the Baltimore Ravens and their passing game. With Mark Andrews constantly being hurt, I really think that you might not draft him, but I really think if Mark Andrews goes down, Isaiah Likely will be the man, and he will. I think he could be that guy that you pick up late in the season when you need a bye week fill in, and Mark Andrews just went down, and he's going to be the guy that fills that spot for you, and you're going to end up starting him every week because he's producing like mad.
Sure.
For instance, just last Sunday. Now I know we're just talking preseason, but he caught 2 touchdown passes on Sunday, right? I mean, the guy he's a big target for Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar likes to throw to his tight ends, and
Yeah.
I think that could really catapult him into something that could be special. Yeah.
He's utilized his time when Andrew's been down and he's getting the starting nod. He's made the most of his opportunities. So yeah, I 100% agree with that pick.
And the one thing that I've learned in my 30 plus years of fantasy football,
thought you were only 31 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I started in 91, so that's even more than 31 years.
That was before fantasy football started.
Yeah, that was back when they had leather helmets.
That's right.
But no, I just think that, you find that guy, because everything's won, in my opinion, is win on the waiver wire. And I think if Mark Andrews goes down, this guy will be the breakout that can catapult your team.
He could even be a breakout if he's still in the game. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
True. Yep. Andrew, it seems like Mark Andrews is, he's got the fragility stamp.
Sure. So. We have not repeated yet on any of our 2, and no, we have not talked about this beforehand, even a glimpse of this. And I'm going to continue this stretch. I'm going to go tight end Greg Dulcich out of Denver. I really like
Good
Bo
call.
Nix. I think he's going to have a really good rookie season. If he doesn't start right away, he's going to jump in and start passing the ball. They don't have Jerry Judy. They don't have
Right.
hardly anyone else. Sean
Yep.
Payton loves his tight ends. And Greg Dulcich is ranked the 28th tight end. You're telling me that he ain't going to crack top 15 if he's the only one getting targets over there?
Right.
And I like this. This might be a very good sleeper pick. Again,
Hmm.
you don't have to draft him early. Just this could be a very good tight end one or even a tight end two if you wait on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like the pick. I mean, it's kind of like my Isaiah Likely pick. Although I think Dulcich is essentially the starter over there, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So I mean, he very well could be, yeah, a really good stash guy. I think that's a great call out right there. I really do. That's I didn't actually think about that, even though I did kind of look at him for a little bit today, as a matter of fact. But no, after going with what you said there, that really could be something special for you.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so I am going back to that mediocre, talented Dallas team, and I am gonna go with Jake Ferguson.
Okay. Okay.
So, I thought he played really well last year. Um,
Definitely in the playoffs as well.
yeah, I think Dak is trusting him more. I think he's going to have a more important role in the game. I think McCarthy's always liked having a tight end, a good pass catching tight end in his system, which I think Ferguson is. And if CD does hold out during the season, a lot of those targets, I have a feeling, could end up going his way just because the talent at wide receiver isn't there. And Dak's going to have to dump the ball out, and usually the tight end's your safety valve.
Yeah.
So that's where
he's definitely got some improvement. You can see the stretch where he went from kind of being a guy to the guy towards the end of the season. So yeah, I can still see more improvement out of him as well. I like it. This one probably is not a shocker. Highly touted for the last 3 years. Tight end Kyle Pitts. He's got Kirk O'Chain's going to throw him the ball. Yeah. We know he likes his tight ends. They already have a rapport going. Dude's only had 2,000 receiving yards in 3 seasons and 6 touchdowns. So he's due for a breakout. I know he's still ranked 7th, probably because of Kirk, but I think he could be top 3 without a doubt. Now you actually have somebody that can throw him the ball.
Yes.
And, you ain't going to do that with Desmond Ridder as your quarterback. Sorry, dude. But now you got a QB. That's the connection, and I think it's going to work out.
Desmond the Riddler.
The Riddler. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I do think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do think that's a good call out. I mean, I thought about doing that as well, but I just think there's been a lot of talk about him this season as possibly being that guy. So I kind of shied away from that. But I think you're absolutely right.
I think it's an obvious pick as well. But I just went with the safe one on this. I think he's still going to do better than projected.
Yeah, right on. No,
and considering he hasn't had any yards or touchdowns, breakout seems likely that he could have 1,010 tutties.
So what does that say if he doesn't? See, if he doesn't,
then I'm wrong. That's what it means.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So that's all that it means. Yeah. No, it means that he must have issues talent-wise somehow.
Something, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I mean, when he was drafted, I mean, everybody was looking at him like he's a wide receiver in a tight end's body.
Yeah.
And then it just never is panned out.
Yeah. Well, now he's got the opportunity to, so let's see what happens. I mean, it's definitely going to be boom or bust, I think, for him. So
agreed.
And speaking of busts, here we go. Okay. We have not repeated yet. Can we go 2 for 2 and go the whole show? I feel like we're not going to though. I
Hope so do
don't
you.
feel it.
Okay, so here we go. This going back to your bust with Kyler Murray. I'm calling out Trey McBride.
Woo!
So
Okay.
Trey McBride has been getting so much play this offseason and preseason as I mean, I've seen people rank him as high as like the third best tight end in the league. Sorry, I just don't see it.
I don't
I
see it either.
I don't. He's not. I mean, he doesn't run well after the catch. Um, so if he's the number one wide receiver for the whole season, because last year he had Ertz there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I I still don't see him, being the next Tony Gonzalez, the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
I think Hawkinson will still have a better season than him, and he might only play half a season. That's a hot take.
Right on. There you go.
But
You heard it here first.
I do I do agree that it might be a little bit overrated on the guy.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm gonna stick with my Steelers theme. If I have a theme, do I have a theme? Yeah, whatever. Pat Fryermuth, ranked 16th
Yes.
tight end. I don't even know if he's gonna be in the league after this season. Dude's played. He's dreadful, and maybe it's just the quarterback play that he might not be a starter either. But he's had 1,500 yards in his career and only 4 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. He's not going to get production out of those quarterbacks, that system. Stay away from Najee Harris. Stay away from Pat Fryermuth. Stay away from any Pittsburgh player, as we said earlier in the episode. Well, I did. I don't like them. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think just in general, Pittsburgh might be, the team that's, got some bad juju.
Yeah. I mean, if you want, obviously, like the thing about fantasy is pick the teams that score a lot of points, get a lot of touchdowns, or
Right.
it has to be the only guy on a crappy team that's going to be doing something, and he better be damn good. Yep. And no one on this team has that for me. So.
Yeah, right on. All right. So my second tight end bust is he comes from that mediocre Dallas team, but now plays in Houston. Dalton Schultz.
Whoa!
So he did look halfway decent last year, moving to Houston. I mean, he looked pretty decent in Dallas. Not, not he wasn't your like top 5 tight end, but I really think that now that we have Diggs and Mixon added with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, there's too much, too many touches that have to go around, and there's not going to be enough for him.
Yeah.
So I don't see him as being probably even rosterable unless, when half the receiving corps gets injured or something like that, because they still even have Noah Brown as well. So
yeah, it's a similar take as the Joe Mixon. I agree with you. I don't see that they're going to get a lot of touches his way, and like you said, unless something unfortunate happens to other players, he's not high on the what do you call it? High
totem pole.
Totem pole. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
We cleared the list. We did not repeat. I thought you were going to say him. Mark Andrews, who's ranked number 4 as a tight end, never played a full season in 6 years. Yep. They have Isaiah Likely, who you talked about. I didn't want to give away this hinting too early, but that's also why I have Zay Flowers high on my board. Mm-hmm. And they also have Derrick Henry, who's going to take away a lot of goal line touches or even goal line passes from this guy. So Mark Andrews is just not going to be your highly touted tight end anymore, guys. So
just hold on a second. Let me shed a tear for Mark Andrews.
It's a tough take. Yeah. And he was in a car accident. We don't know how well he's going to recover.
I
No,
know.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. He came back fine, but
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I
he's
thought
he's
actually
gonna
he
be
was out for a few days from
fine.
that car
Maybe a
accident.
little bit of shock and whatnot, but he was saying that he, glad you wear your seatbelts and everything. So, but no, I don't know if that's going to have any effect on him. I just don't see. I think the guy's kind of, Mr. Glass a little bit. So, unfortunately for him, fortunate for others, and that's my take.
Right on. No, I think this has been a good episode. I think we've given a lot of people something to think about. I'm hoping we can, help some people when they're looking to, get some of them late round picks and maybe stay away from a couple that may not be such late round picks.
Right. Yep.
So,
and use the information as you guys want to on your own. This is only our opinions, and
absolutely,
some of it may be just to create controversy for you, make you think twice about yourself. But I do believe in most of these picks anyway. So I'm yeah.
Yes. No, I exactly. I agree with you. Yeah, I wouldn't throw Josh Allen out there if I didn't think that he was going to take a step back. Now, does that mean that he's not going to be worth drafting? Of course not. But, it just depends on where you get him, right?
Yeah.
Everything with fantasy football is all about the value you can get and how much that person could potentially score, at that position. So,
I remember, guys, this isn't exactly breakout or bust necessarily. It's how we project players based on their rankings or average draft position. Are they going to do succeed or not succeed those expectations? And that's just kind of how we're doing it. So, and do your own for fun, kind of see what you guys think.
Absolutely.
In the upcoming weeks, I think we're going to maybe try to stick to a little bit more fantasy football, throw in a little sprinkle of news here, and see where things go with it.
Yeah. One thing I would like to say, if you liked the episode, please like, subscribe, and please give us your thoughts. Am I cracked for picking Josh Allen as a potential bust candidate?
Yes.
Let me know, because I don't think so. And my therapist says I'm on, I'm doing fine. So
send us some comments. Let us know. Check out the TikToks as well. I don't know if you guys are listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. Happy that you're doing one of the two or any of them. Thank you. Keep it going. And, let's leave it at that.
Yeah. We'll catch you guys on the next podcast.